inspired by real-life events. Narrator No Walker woke up inside a hospital bed with a blinking monitor beside him and a police officer standing at the door. And the first thing he heard was, "You were found unconscious near the warehouse with evidence linked to the fire incident." And in that single sentence, his entire life collapsed into confusion because he had no memory of how he got there. Only fragments of a night he couldn't fully piece together. A late shift at the logistics company in Dallas, a system error alert, and then nothing, just darkness. And now he was being treated not as an employee, but as a suspect in a case that had already gone viral across internal company channels, and within hours his access to everything was revoked. His accounts frozen, and his name attached to an investigation labeled critical negligence and possible sabotage. And the worst part wasn't the accusation. It was the silence from people he trusted, because no one called to ask what happened. They just stopped responding. And Noah wasn't a powerful man. He was an operations coordinator who had worked his way up from loading trucks in his early 20s, believing that discipline and honesty were enough to protect a person from life collapsing. But reality doesn't respect effort, and by evening he was released from the hospital directly into police questioning. And sitting across from an investigator, he kept saying the same thing. "I don't remember anything after the system alert." But memory is not evidence, and evidence is not mercy. And when they showed him security footage from the warehouse, a shadowed figure matching his uniform moving near restricted storage before the fire alarm triggered, he felt his stomach drop because it looked like him. But he knew he didn't do it. And that contradiction became the center of his nightmare, because doubt spreads faster than truth. And within 24 hours, the company suspended him officially and informed him that legal action could follow depending on investigation results. And just like that, Noah's entire identity as a reliable worker, a stable provider for his younger sister, and a man trying to build a future after years of struggle was reduced to a question mark. And that night he sat in his small apartment, staring at the empty walls, replaying every detail of his life, trying to find where reality broke. And that's when his phone rang from an unknown number. And a voice said, "If you want to know what really happened in that warehouse, meet me alone." And despite fear, despite uncertainty, he went, because when everything is already lost, hesitation loses meaning. And at the location he met Elena Brooks, a cybersecurity and internal systems analyst who used to work with the company's infrastructure security team. And she told him something that changed everything. She said, "That footage was altered using internal admin override access. Your identity was cloned inside the system." And Noah immediately said, "Then I can prove it." But she replied, "No. You can't prove anything alone, because whoever did this is still inside the system, controlling logs in real time." And in that moment, Noah understood the truth wasn't just hidden. It was actively being rewritten. And Elena offered him a dangerous choice: walk away and let the system finish destroying his life, or work with her to trace the internal breach before it gets buried permanently. And Noah stood there for a long time, thinking about his sister waiting for him at home, about his years of effort, building a stable life from nothing, and how quickly it all disappeared without warning. And finally, he said, "If I already lost my life on paper, then I have nothing left to protect." And that was the point where he stopped being a victim and became part of the investigation. And what followed was not heroism, it was exhaustion. Hidden server tracing, late-night log reconstruction, and following digital footprints that kept shifting as as if someone was watching them in real time, and every step forward created more risk because someone inside the company was actively covering tracks. And one night, while analyzing access patterns in a small rented workspace, Noah saw something that froze him completely. His own credentials were being used again inside the system while he was physically holding his laptop in front of him. And Elena immediately whispered, "They're simulating your identity. Live to frame you again." And in that moment, Noah realized this wasn't just an accusation. It was a controlled elimination. And someone was trying to erase him from both system and reality. And pressure escalated quickly because anonymous threats started arriving, warning him to stop digging or the fire incident would be blamed entirely on him. And sleep disappeared, trust disappeared, and even silence started feeling like surveillance. And during one breaking point, Noah said quietly, "I spent my life believing systems protect truth, but maybe systems only protect whoever controls them." And Elena replied, "Truth doesn't live in systems. It lives in whoever refuses to stop searching for it." And that shifted everything. Because Noah stopped trying to defend himself and started focusing only on exposure. And eventually, they traced the manipulation to a senior internal operations manager who had been using privileged access to reroute transactions, simulate logs, and assign blame profiles to employees as shields for ongoing fraud. And the warehouse fire had been used as a distraction layer to erase evidence of financial data theft happening simultaneously. And when Noah finally compiled enough encrypted proof to expose the full structure, everything escalated into a high-risk confrontation where the company attempted to shut down all external transfers and lock evidence pipelines. And Elena said, "This is the moment you either disappear quietly or finish what started your destruction." And Noah replied, "I already disappeared the day they took my name. Now, I'm just making sure the truth doesn't disappear with it." And together, they pushed the evidence to federal cybercrime authorities while protecting digital trails from being wiped. And within days, the investigation flipped, internal arrests began, and the manipulated system logs were exposed publicly as part of a larger fraud operation. And when it was over, Noah stood outside the same industrial warehouse site where everything began, watching reconstruction workers rebuild what had burned. And for the first time in weeks, he felt silence without fear, because he understood something deeply. That in a world where identity can be copied and truth can be rewritten, the only thing that cannot be fully controlled is the person who refuses to accept a false ending. And when he met Elena one last time before she left the city, she asked, "What did this cost you?" And Noah looked at the rebuilt horizon and said, "Everything I thought defined me." And she asked, "And what did you gain?" And after a pause, he replied, "The understanding that losing control is not the end. It's the beginning of seeing what was real all along." And as he walked away alone through the city lights, he finally realized that survival is not about proving innocence in a broken system. It is about refusing to let a broken system define your reality. Because sometimes life doesn't give you closure. It only gives you clarity after everything else is taken away.